Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
I might be going right now.
You really love this song.
I love this song. I love it, and I'm so glad we were finally able to find it and have it as our intro music. Again, all y'all out there, it's Brandon Calhoun, lost to be found. He's a local artist from the Michigan area, so check him out. And once again, welcome to another Battle Creek After Show. Tonight we're talking Season 1, Episode 7, Mama's Boy. And before we dive into the recap, I want to make sure you guys out there are all subscribed to us on YouTube, youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV. You can also get all the podcasts on iTunes and SoundCloud as well, so check it out there. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, you name it. And throughout the week, tweet us what you guys think about the show. We want to know.
Lauren loves the fans.
I love the fans. I love the comments on YouTube. I love the tweets, so get at us. My name is Lauren Salaun, and you can find me on Twitter at Lauren Salaun, and I'm joined, as usual, by Gary Thomas. How's it going? Where can everyone find you online?
I'm fantastic. This is a great Sunday. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at I am Gary Thomas, and of course, IamGaryThomas.com.
Awesome. So let's dive in. I really liked this week's episode.
This is definitely top 3.
Yeah,
top 3.
I agree. We have very similar tastes too with the episodes we like, which I think is good, right?
Right.
We're always in good company.
Some people don't like that because then it's not a contrasting opinion.
Right, we're not fighting about the show and stuff. I mean, they're not necessarily in the same order.
No, it's not.
Your #1 is different than my #1.
Because you don't like the one with the little girl, and I
love
that
one. No, that one was way too melodramatic. Way too dramatic
this
for
one
me.
could be top 3, though.
Yeah, top 3 for sure. So the big thing about this week's episode is we see Russ's mother, guest star played by Candice Bergman, and I thought she did an excellent job. She
Emmy Award winning, so don't forget that.
You know, she's got some credentials behind her. So a lot of fun to see her in the show this week. She's a con artist, and she's currently in prison when we find her, but the team gets her, she gets a little break from prison to come help them with their case because they find a body down by the river or they really just find a foot, and it has some knockoff shoes near it. And since Russ's mother was quite the counterfeit pro in her conning days, they are like, okay, well, we should tap into Constance because she probably can help us out with this. And of course, Russ, being grumbly and grumpy as usual, definitely does not want to. He's like, no, let's use our reasoning skills and figure this out.
I think they got to that too fast.
Yeah?
It was it happened so quickly in the beginning of the episode. I think they should have gave it a little bit more time. It was just like, oh, boom, go to your mom. Like, we were like 2 minutes into the episode before they already jumped to, bring her out. I think it was because Gusewitz just made that executive decision, and she puts her foot down and stuff happens. Right, but it was just there was no reasoning behind it. It was just Gustav was like, you need to go see Constance. Who's Constance? That's my mom. It was like that. Right. I felt like they could just gave me a little bit more lead up to it.
I guess I see what you're saying. I do think that Milt was quick to figure out that, oh, well, it sounds like Constance is somebody that you care about and that cares about you and your family. Yeah, that did seem too easy for him to piece together, but I like that they jumped right into it because I thought she was awesome throughout. Oh, yeah,
she was.
I thought it was great to get as much time with her as we could. So she, from the beginning, she's conning everyone left and right. While they're at the prison talking with her, she's complimenting Milt, which everybody does, so it doesn't seem that out of character. But he's such a sucker. He's totally falling for it. And Russ is over there like, she's conning you right now.
She's just calling her out left and right like, she got you. She got you. And she got you.
Yeah, so she pretty much tricks all of them from the first minute. You know, she convinces them that she's the one who needs to talk to Henry, who is somebody that would know the connections for these counterfeit shoes. And she tricks them at the dressing room. You know, she says she needs to have some nicer clothes to be talking to this guy because it needs to be done with finesse. And so she, you know, all this elaborate conning going on just in this, like, you know, one afternoon, essentially, which I thought had a lot of playfulness in the episode. It
did, and it definitely brought all the characters into it, so that was good because we don't get to see a lot of people. Like, we don't get to see Nibblers, we don't get to see Aaron, you know, we don't get to see them a lot. It's so much focus just on Russ and Milt, so it's good that they used her to bring the other characters, and we got to see them a little bit more.
Definitely. It was a good device to get them all a little bit more time. We didn't see Funk and Aaron this week.
No Shailene.
Yeah, no Shailene talk. I was hoping we'd meet Shailene. We're probably not.
Are we going to meet Shailene this season?
Oh, we better. I hope. I hope they do an episode about their wedding.
They have to.
Yeah.
We have to meet Shailene because she's talked about so much, but no one knows who she is. She's probably everyone's favorite hidden character.
Infamous Shailene.
Right.
Yeah, so we do get some time with Niblet, and I really liked, speaking of Niblet, that, you know, this happened later in the episode, but when Connie's talking to him, and we, realize it's all part of kind of a con, you know, she's talking to Niblet to distract him and talking about family, and it's really about the people that matter and prioritize them. Don't prioritize your work because that's not forever. All that stuff. And of course, while she's saying that to him, she's scratching her aliases off the list so he won't look at them. But in the end, ends up being something that helped him and, you know,
helped them all.
Yeah.
Helped them all.
Yeah, with Font as well and his wife's situation. She also stole his cell phone during that conversation, but
she saved his marriage.
But yeah, she gave him some good life advice. So I think it was, you know, it's, self-serving, but at the same time, also, she's like looking out for everyone too.
She self-served on all her cons, but she helped. But the Holly one was by far, I don't know how to describe it, if self-serving or just...
That one tricked me completely.
It did. I didn't have
any
idea.
All the others, I was like, oh, I bet she's, you know... Well, definitely, I thought with several of them, at least, she was pulling some cons. But the Holly one, for sure, did not see that one coming.
I was so shocked. And it was just like Holly's always the good B storyline. She's always, they use her so well. And this one was definitely one I didn't expect. I wasn't even paying attention to it that much, actually, because I was so into the con part and the mom, like, how they threw that in like really shocked me.
Yeah, and that was one that wasn't as self-serving. Obviously, she wanted to see if Holly would kind of, you know, break the rules and stick up for Russ because it's clear that there's chemistry there. But it didn't necessarily further Connie's crime situation, you know, that whole scenario. So it was really just for her peace of mind with her son, which was endearing for sure. But I loved that Holly, you know, when the reporter, so to speak, comes to question her about Russ, she stands up for Russ. Great, you know, she defends him, and
even when Gusewicz told her just to release a statement, she still went beyond.
She was like, really? Even let the story come out? Yeah, and then ends up getting dirt on this reporter and blackmailing him, essentially. And you can tell that that's something that is clearly out of her comfort zone. She's not cool with that, but
she's willing to do it for Russ.
Yeah, willing to do it for Russ. I know, and here I thought, which I said last week, and I was wrong, that I thought Milt would be helping to kind of push them together a little bit. I think that's still to come, but...
I think we learned in this episode that in hindsight, Milt has his own issues to deal with.
Yes.
And that's very much second, you know, the whole Russ thing and everything is just second to what he really has going on in his own agenda.
Right. Yeah, and we've gotten hints all throughout, you know, that there's more to Milt than we know. You know, he's not been too shy to admit that. He's not telling us what it is, but he is definitely like, yeah, there's more going on, but
inquiring minds want to know now.
Yeah. But now we learn at the end that there's some mama drama with him too. He's calling, and his mom doesn't want to talk to him, which made me so sad. Like, I loved this episode because it did, you know, I think we really like the episodes that give us more of a peek into the characters' histories and why they are the way they are, you know, to get that more well-rounded picture of them. And this one did just that with Russ and his family upbringing and maybe why he's so skeptical of everybody and doesn't trust anybody because his mom's a con artist,
right.
you know?
But I feel like the show thrives on the character development because the storylines aren't super interesting. They're not continuous either.
Right. Yeah.
This show really, it really just thrives on the fact that they're building up the characters and you get more invested in the characters because, I mean, that's probably why I even continue to watch it, just because I like the people on it. It's like I've grown to love the characters altogether. So like you have your favorites.
I do think that this week, you know, sometimes the crime aspects are a bit very predictable, and that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't have the meat of the story, and that's not why you watch it. But I think this week I didn't find myself, you know, necessarily predicting every step of the way. I was like, okay, I bet Russ is going to con his mom back, which he ended up doing. I didn't think it was going to be that extensive.
Well, they hinted to it. They foreshadowed on it because Milt said, you know, you have a lot in common with your mom. You know, single mom. He's like, you know, so she made some sacrifices, but you guys have a lot in common. And of course, he conned her.
Yeah, he conned her good.
Really good.
Yeah, but I think the whole time I wasn't necessarily, you know, guessing all the next steps. You know, I'd call out a few and maybe be right, but I wasn't. I think with a lot of the episodes, you see that bigger name actor and you're like, oh, well, that person's going to be the main bad guy because they're the only other person I recognize.
Right. That's why you're on the show. That's why they guest starred you.
Exactly. So it ends up kind of giving it away. And this week I felt like we didn't, you know, it wasn't super predictable and cookie cutter. There were a lot of different twists, and I don't know if that's just the nature of having the, you know, Candace's character be a con woman, you know, so they're gonna have to make those tricky twists.
They named her Constance when she's a con artist. Like, what?
I know. I thought that was funny. Both sides, you know, if the name's Constance, like, you know, something constant, but then at the same time they call her Connie and she's a con woman. Very, very clever. And I know we've both always admired the writers. You know, they're very smart and sharp with their writing, and that's just another example of that.
And I like that it's strategically simple, but it's simply interesting.
Yes. Look at that.
Right.
Are you a writer?
Maybe so. You know, I should write a sitcom or two.
Yeah. And I like that we get to see a little bit more with Niblet, because he had been kind of taking a back seat, I feel like, the last few weeks. We get a lot of time with Font, generally every week, and then it kind of mixes in Funk, Aaron, and
Holly
and Niblet a bit. But Niblet hadn't been
Niblet, I really feel like we have like glimpses here and there. He says like one line.
Yeah, he's a family man. He had to get out of the office early to go to kids' t-ball.
That was what was interesting, because we finally learned that he's married, and you know, everybody has these relationships outside of the precinct. We learn more about them.
Right. Yeah. Even learning that Font is married. Which we had no idea about.
I don't remember that being ever said in any other episode.
No. So now we've got all the more wives.
Makes you like them more.
Shailene, Mrs. Font, all these people that we can't wait to meet, that I'm sure we will be. So we end up, with Holly and Russ, I just want to get back to that, because
that's your favorite part of the whole series. It's my favorite
part. It's always my favorite part. That sweet tension. And there wasn't too much between them directly.
No.
At all, really. But I loved seeing that side of Holly, and I do feel like we always see her being very integral in the storyline. Like you said, that her B-plot is always very interesting. Whether
because she's almost solving the case or something juicy about her and Russ. So.
Right. And this time was, I think, a big moment for her. You know, she tells that reporter at one point, I don't care about my job. You know, she cares
care about her job over Russ.
Yeah.
When it came to him, she was willing to risk it all.
Exactly. So I liked seeing that part a lot.
It was cool because I'm waiting for this part of the story to really just thrive. Like, what's going to happen with this? Are they going to get together? Is it going to be something that's, she's really going to have to risk everything for him and he's going to acknowledge it? What's going to happen next? And they're really hanging us with this one. We all want to see it happen.
Well, I think it's been clear that Holly has a crush on Russ, for sure. And I think it's been less clear from Russ's perspective. Obviously, we know that, but he hasn't very much admitted it. Well, Holly...
I think he pretty much admitted it to Milt in so many words. You know how Russ is.
He's not admitting it necessarily to himself. Everyone's drawing those conclusions, but I think she's been more to, inclined to kind of admit that in a sense. Yeah, and be more forward with that sort of crush and relationship. I feel like it's going to have to be a big gesture from Russ to make it happen. Like she's going to leave to go to law school or something, or decide, put in her notice or something, and he's going to have to make some. So we're waiting on Russ to make the big move. You don't think it's going to come from Holly? She tends to be the one who is obviously, making the moves, and how she feels about the big move. Yeah, Russ.
All
the little nuggets, Holly still.
I wonder what other people think, because I know this has to be like all the viewers have to be waiting on this whole Russ and Holly thing to kick off.
And the thing about that though is I feel like shows are so good when they keep that tension going longer, usually. So part of me doesn't want them to get connected, because then you lose that fun, exciting tension.
It won't last. I definitely think that it's going to be one of the things that we waited so long for them to get together, and then something's going to happen and it's not going to last. Like something's going to go wrong with
something will go wrong, but we'll get that like brief moment of satisfaction where they go on one date or something, and then we'll be pining for it forever again, and then it'll happen again or something. I think so, like that. Yeah.
Just wait for it.
Yeah, exactly. What were some of your favorite parts of this week's episode?
Episode was it was really, really good. I just thought that the lie detector was juicy. I like that overall Russ really just conned her, and Russ conned everybody. And this week was different because I felt like he was just so much more on edge. Yeah. Like he was just going at everybody, like just cutting throat with everyone because of his mom was around.
Right.
And it really just showed how he felt about her.
Exactly. And I do think, though, I was noticing, because there's always the Russ and Milt tension. And usually it's very much from Russ's perspective. He's always picking and poking at Milt in some way or another, every turn they take. And this week I felt like he didn't so much do that because his focus was so much on his mom being there. So his jabs were more at his mom, and all that kind of angst and tension was pointed toward mom instead of at Milt. And I think Milt kind of, they had a few like heart-to-heart moments, in the beginning when they're shopping, and even with the lie detector stuff, and at the end when he's like, see, your mom does love you. So I feel like they had some bonding moments there.
I think that he related to him because he has the issue with his mom, so he just wanted so badly for Russ's situation not to be like his, So there
are so many broken mother relationships in this show. We've got Goose and her son having tension.
And it's crazy because that's not. They say that in real life, mothers love their sons and raise their daughters. So it's kind of like a
daughter.
I know, but that's just what they say.
I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, I've always heard that, and I see it. I feel like I said it to my mother. I'm like, I think I see it, but. That's crazy that they're playing on this mother-son thing throughout the whole thing. It's really different.
3 mother-son situations now we have going on.
Yeah, because normally it's like, mothers and daughters. In TV, mothers and daughters have this tension, and fathers and son have this tension. But, he didn't have a father growing up. And then, Gusu's son is, had the break in relationship with his parents as well. So it's a lot of this mother-son issues that they're bringing to the forefront.
Theme we've got going on here.
Yeah, it's happened so many times now.
Yeah. Exactly. I almost thought that during this episode we were going to see Russ's dad somehow was involved.
Yeah, I thought one of those names, like one of those con names, was his dad or a brother.
Is that the dad? And they're like, no, it's just another alias for the mom. I'm like, I thought this was going to get even juicier and juicier with family drama.
Russ was this episode. He's so dramatic.
He is pretty whiny. I would think though, if you put yourself in his shoes with this situation, that'd be you'd be you know, a little tense.
Yeah, but you know how Goosewick said he's like ill-tempered and stubborn? It just comes off like a brat all the time.
Yes, he's very
kind of
grumpy.
Annoying.
Yeah, he's like a 90-year-old grumpy old man in like a, you know, 40-year-old's body, essentially.
Is he
Sorry,
40?
I don't know how old he is. How old do you think he is?
I don't know. He looks super old.
Yes. Okay, what did you think about the lie detector situation when she lied about all, like, those 5 questions all in a row? Do you think she meant to set the thing off? Because I feel like at her level of con artistry, she would have learned how to dupe a lie detector machine. Because it's possible.
I don't know.
Because why would it go off when she says she loves him?
Because that's what I'm thinking about it. You know, I didn't care about any other part until that question.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, lie detector, whoop-de-woo, they're going to solve the case. You know, because I knew it wasn't going to be her. It was just too fast for the way the show's written. But when the love thing came up and the Milton, that whole thing was the only part I was really interested in. It was like a jaw dropper, like, Milt, why did you have to do this to him?
Right, or maybe that was part of her con against Russ, and if she didn't answer that way, he wouldn't have gone and done these other things that resulted in it all getting resolved. It was
so many layers, the cons on top of the cons, and everybody was conning each other, so it was just like, just that moment was...
Who can we trust?
Right, it was just interesting because it's like, Milt, why did you do that to him? I felt bad for him for a second until, you know, you realized it was all a con, too.
Yeah.
But I was like, Milt, you just broke this man's spirit. You were trying to help so bad. Milt, I wanted it, you know, it's kind of like you think, because, you know, Milt is starting to get on my nerves a little bit because he's been lying a bit. But
Milt the liar.
It was like, yes, something else went wrong with Milt. Trying to help.
And Russ got burned in the process.
Well, casualties.
Yeah, casualties. All fair in love and war, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so... And I do like how Milt pointed out to Russ when Russ is jumping on the fact that he's like, oh, everything points to my mom. She's the killer. It's totally cut and dry. That's it. And it was all way too clean. And Milt points that out. And he's like, if this were anyone else, you would not be jumping to that conclusion. You would be, you know, weighing the evidence and you'd be looking at other options. And so I appreciate him, you know, he knows Russ well enough at this point to call him on his baloney.
On that, and essentially he probably knew that something else was going on, like in Russ's mind, but he couldn't put his finger on it because Russ was already, you know, conning everybody around him to get to the end of this whole thing. So I think Russ probably knows him well enough to know that he was on to something else. He never jumps on top of things, you know. Russ is always on questioning stuff. So Milt was like, no, you're going to this too fast. Yeah.
Did you notice in the beginning when Connie first kind of comes into the department and she and Russ are talking about the case and they're kind of like, you know, ping-ponging back and forth, like, here's what happened, and then this must have happened, and then you know?
Right.
How it was very much like mother-son. They think exactly the same. That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, how cute.
They did a good job together. Definitely act well together. They played off each other very well. So it made it more believable.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was awesome. I mean...
Definitely lots of twists.
Yeah, do you think that we'll see her again?
Maybe so. I think she's going to come up. She has to. Like, you know, you just can't leave out a mom. I think that every person's kind of, you know, especially with Goosewick's son, and these kind of characters are, you know, returnable. You know, they're able to come back.
I know. I really want to see Goosewick's son again.
Well, you know, he's doing big things. That guy's blowing up.
He is. You were going to look into him.
Yes, I need to reach out to him. He is... I can't remember his name. I have to go to my Instagram to remember his name. But he's going to be on Power, too. Oh. And Power premieres in June, so he has a role on Power.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
so maybe we might not see him again.
Right. He's getting big.
Too busy.
He's into music, too. I told you that last week. And like I said, the Power is big. He landed a role on there, too. So you guys are going to see that guy.
Yeah, awesome. Well, he did a great job in that episode. I mean, that was my... favorite episode.
And my second favorite.
Yeah. So yeah, he did an excellent job. So good for him. And we'll have to shout out his name when we.
His Instagram doesn't even say his real name, so I have to like look up his credits as IMDb.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. Anyway, back to our episode. I feel like we've covered pretty much all the good stuff? Anything we left out?
No, this was a good one. Just pretty much a good chemistry. I like that. Everyone just...
Yeah, and I think they had a good balance of, like, you know, we've talked about before, the episodes that we like the most have a good balance of comedy and drama, or comedy and intensity, I guess. And when they get too comedic, we don't really get that engaged with it. And with this episode, I think they did such a good job of having those deep storylines, learning more about the characters, having some tension and even emotional parts with it, you know, with the mother-son relationships, and at the same time having a lot of humor in it. You know, we've got this middle-aged woman who's like this really savvy con artist that keeps tricking all these cops and FBI agents and stuff. So
that was the best part.
I thought it was awesome.
It was comedy, but we were still on the edge of our seats. Yeah. Because we could not solve this one. We would not have known.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So why don't we give a few predictions, I guess? This one's always tricky to predict, but...
Because it changes.
It changes every week. It's a new situation every week, but we'll give it a shot. Okay. Well...
You're probably going to take mine, so go ahead.
Oh, I'm going to take yours?
You probably are.
Well, I mean, I always predict about Holly and Russ.
I know, so I was like, you're going to take mine, so
I don't think I have anything solid, though, about what I'm predicting with them. I think that... I'm going to go with what I predicted last week, because it didn't happen this week, which maybe means I should just drop it. But I think,
let it go. Just let it go.
I think that Milt is going to help to push Russ and Holly together in some way. Not like together completely, but I think he's going to give a little poke to either Russ or Holly to encourage them to
I think that's
the other one.
That's a standing prediction.
Russ. I know, it's a standing prediction. I'm just waiting for it to happen.
I think that next week I want to see the B storyline be funk and Shailene, some tension or some drama there, something good with that. I definitely am on the Holly and Russ thing. I'm waiting for that, and I think we're on the brink of something with Milt. I think this next episode we're gonna get something with Milt, something deeper, because that phone call kind of this show is really good at kind of foreshadowing and giving you something to look forward to. So I think we're on the brink of learning something big about Milt in the next episode.
I agree, because it's all been little secrets and kind of hints at it, but there's never been actual concrete, aside from the old boss at the FBI saying stuff, which didn't really end up giving you anything concrete anyway, because he was like, oh, I love the guy, I hate the guy, and Milt's like, oh, I had an affair with his wife, which didn't end up being true. So that was all, led us nowhere. But aside from that, we haven't had anything concrete that
until this phone call, this episode.
Exactly, that clears up any of these questions we've had about Milt until, like you said, this phone call. So that opens the door just a little crack to figuring
just
out
a crack. I think we're going to, hopefully next episode it kicks open the door altogether.
More about Milt, the charming liar.
Yeah, he's such a liar. His character he started off so good, then he just went downhill with all these lies. This irritates me now.
I don't mind him. But I am one of those girls that's like, oh, hey, Milt.
Milt's so irritating.
Oh, please. Anyway, I think I agree with those. I think we'll get more Milt. I think the Holly Russ thing's gonna get a little bit more tension going on with it, and I think we'll see funk as well.
Maybe. I just think it's gonna time for maybe not Shailene yet, but it's time for a good B storyline with one of the other characters, because that's kind of how they get them involved.
Right?
So.
Yeah, they kind of rotate them back and forth.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyway. I think that wraps us up for this evening.
It does.
Thank you guys all out there for tuning in, and be sure to check back next week when we cover the show again. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to us on YouTube, youtube.com/AfterBuzzTV, and get the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud as well. And throughout the week, like I said in the beginning, tweet us, comment on the YouTube video, you name it. We want to hear what you guys think about the show. I'm Lauren Salaun. You can find me on Twitter at Lauren Salaun. That's SALAUN. And Twitter and everywhere else at Lauren Salaun. Gary, where can everyone find you online?
I am Gary Thomas, Instagram and Twitter, and I am GaryThomas.com.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.